The 2016 Formula Drift Championship is winding down, but the championship race is heating up. There are 5 drivers that have a mathematical chance to win the title, but 3 in specific are looking to repeat. Vaughn Gittin Jr., Chris Forsberg, and Frederick Osbo have all won championships, with Forsberg having 2. Will Chris make history and be the only driver with 3, or will Osbo and Gittin join him with 2? Either way, whoever wins, history will be made here in Seattle, and you can see it all unfold on UTI Formula Drift Insider, presented by Blackview Dash Cameras. Before we see how the battle in Seattle unfolds, let's take a look back at a historic event. Our first Formula Drift Championship round outside of the lower 48 states. In Montreal, Canada, the track, Saint-Eustache, deemed the Irwindale of the North.
I think for Formula Drift, going into Canada for the first time for their US series and being received that way tells something about the drift fans of the world. You know, Formula Drift has a great standing around the world. Canada proved that, and I know where I'm from, Norway, there's a ton of fans there and throughout the rest of the globe that would love to see us roll into their hometown.
Canada was super fun. The fans were insane. They were on their feet. We're getting standing ovations like after every battle. It was awesome. They were just very into it, and you know, for a good reason. We brought the best drifting show in the world to their country, and so into that home track for them. So they were just super pumped, super jazzed, and it was cool to get that kind of reaction from the fans.
So we showed up to Canada, a relatively even playing field. You know, some drivers, Osbo, Forrest, had been there before from previous events they did, but for most of us, it's a clean slate.
It was my second time around in Canada. I felt a little more comfortable than probably most of the field because I got to run the track last year. Overall, really good vibe. The fans are amazing there, and you know, happy to come home with the trophy.
The competition side of Formula Drift Canada was great. We qualified, I think, mid-pack. Went up against Kyle Mohan in the top 32, got the win. And in the top 16, we were matched up against Ryan Turk again. And we've seen battle 3 times this year, and it's been great every single time. And on our first run, we were chasing him because we were the lower qualifying driver. And we were pretty good up until the outer zone 2, where I snapped both axles on the rear side, and that kind of just basically took us out of the competition and ended our day for us.
For top 4, I went up against Frederick Osbo, and I felt very, very prepared and ready for that battle. We went, and I felt like it was a really tight battle, and it was just a ton of fun. But after, you know, the judges reviewed everything, Osbo ended up getting the win, but you know, overall we didn't make like a big mistake. The car worked really well, and it's just sometimes it's tough. You know, you got to have luck on your side when things get so competitive.
You know, my battle with Forsberg was really a textbook battle against Forsberg. You know, 2 guys that are going as hard as they possibly can, and when you know that, you're comfortable and you just get after it. So on my Forsberg qualified higher than us, so on my chase run, I was with him the entire course. He ran a perfect line, and I just stuck with him, was everywhere he was, and felt really good about it. In fact, going into the lead run, I felt like we had a good advantage.
We thought that he was going to be the car to beat. He was on point all weekend long, super fast. And on his lead run, he was probably thinking the same thing, just kind of got to lay it all out there. And he got a little into the wall, got a little hot and heavy with it, had a big mistake coming off the bank, and that was enough to give us the win.
What I learned from that event is drifting can bite you at any moment. You know, just when you're feeling on top and you're walking light and you're on the clouds, there's something that's going to grab you. There's something that's going to challenge you. But that's why we love this sport. You know, it never gets mundane. You know, it's constantly changing. It's constantly challenging, and those things just, you know, make you buck up and keep your head up. You know, so rock and roll, man.
Final battle was with Frederick Osbo, who was very smooth, very dialed, and we knew that he was going to be on point. And on our chase run, we had a nice, good position coming around the bank. Felt very comfortable. We were right on his door, coming around. Felt like the place that we needed to be. However, as we came off the bank, he held that left turn just a little bit longer than everybody else. And as we rotated, I lost my positioning on the track, thinking we were more track left than we were. So when we rotated out, I was on the inside of him, heading straight for that start-finish cone. And so that was the small mistake that I made that was enough to give him the win. With these top caliber drivers, you have to be perfectly on point. One mistake is what will take you out.
Chris and I have a very professional attitude. He gives credit where credit's due. He congratulated us, and he was like, basically walking up to me saying, "You mother," and you know, it's stuff like that you want to be a part of. You want to be a part of those battles where it matters so much that we put it all on the line. I know we did. I know Chris and his team did. We all, you know, shook hands and gave high fives after, and all in all, it was a fantastic battle for that win.
Formula Drift on CBS Sports Network is being brought to you by Universal Technical Institute, chosen by industry, ready to work. By Blackview, over the cloud. And by Hankook Tire, driving emotion.
The stage is set and all eyes are poised on our championship leaders. Coming into Evergreen, it's Osbo, Forsberg, and leading the pack is Vaughn Gittin Jr. in the championship hunt.
Coming here to Monroe, Washington for round 6 of Formula Drift, leading the points championship, obviously feels amazing. You know, being on top is always awesome. I love it when everyone's gunning for me, but I make no mistakes. You know, this is far from over. We have 3 more rounds, and this is one of them. So it's just as important that we get a good result, that we do what we've been doing all year, working as a team, dialing that Ford Mustang in, and go out there and rip it up.
I don't think Formula Drift has ever been this exciting. You know, and we're coming in here, JR leading the pack, we're nipping at his heels, 3 points back. Chris Forsberg right behind us, and then you have the rest of the soldiers basically clawing their way behind us. It's gonna be a pretty epic event out here. Whoever takes this is gonna be getting a lot of momentum going into Texas.
After this event, you can kind of figure out who's going to win the championship, because out of the top 3 guys, someone's going to, you know, keep that momentum going, and someone's going to have a bad weekend. It's pretty much like clockwork every year, and if the 3 of us all get to the final rounds again, it will be pretty insane, and that would be almost the first. And so, like I said, just a lot of new guys coming out. It's a very technical track, very fast track. It really caters to different driving styles. And so we've had a lot of good success here in the past, and so we're looking for the same thing this weekend.
The way the points are laid out for me right now, we're over halfway done with the season. If I do well here, I'm gonna keep on closing in that gap to, you know, finish at least top 3 in the series. And it's getting so tight right now that it's gonna take, you know, a lot of aggression from my part to not let the top 3 guys pull away. We don't have many rounds left. You know, ideally, taking out the top 3 guys early on in battle is what would secure me moving on and, you know, getting more comfortable in that top 3 position.
We're sitting in 5th place currently in the championship points, and in order for us to do well here and really climb up the ladder for the series, we have to have, well, a few things has to happen. First, I got to perform well and get on the podium. Second, either JR, Osbo, and Chris has to get eliminated early on in the games, hopefully in the top 32. But, you know, I just got to stay focused and committed, and crossing my fingers that my competitors don't do so well.
The Northwest is great. I love it here. The weather has been amazing. The one thing that we worry about the most coming up here is rain, but the forecast looks perfect. We're getting excellent temperatures and no sign of rain. So we're just enjoying it, soaking it in, and we know that we're going to have a huge crowd. They fill that grandstand out, they go nuts, stomp their feet and everything, and it's definitely a very energetic crowd.
I feel amazing on this track. It's so fun to me. I love being up on that wall and just wide open and coming into that power alley. It's just such a fun, challenging track that you know, it inspires me, and I do really well here.
This track has one of the longest banks, so you could really pull away, or you could, you know, use that to suck up to someone. So having a fast car is really important here because there's a big long stretch where a fast car will have a huge advantage.
We're going so fast coming down that bank that, a split second of holding the brake too long or a little jerk on the steering wheel is going to send you right off track. So this is a pretty hairy Formula Drift course.
When we come back, we head to the track for Top 16.
Formula Drift on CBS Sports Network is being brought to you by Nexen Tire. Driving tomorrow. By FormulaD.com. For merchandise, tickets, and series information, head to FormulaD.com. And by the U.S. Air Force. Aim high.
Evergreen Speedway, Monroe, Washington. Playing host of Formula Drift Championship for now 10 years. Vaughn Gittin Jr., the #1 qualifier, going against Dean Carnage Carney in his Dodge Viper. In a crazy turn of events, Vaughn Gittin Jr. gets handed the loss.
It was an intense battle with Dean Carney, another amazing driver, which this field is full of right now. And we went for one more time, and I did everything pretty perfect. On my chase run, I was having to make some adjustments to stay behind him and not run him over. And he was pretty smooth behind us, so I think maybe he judged our speed a little better than maybe I did his, but that's how it goes, man. This is a game of inches. It's a game of picking up the throttle at milliseconds before the other guy, and he bested us, knocked us out. Definitely not where we wanted to go. We're feeling amazing this weekend, qualified first. Really felt like I was gonna win the weekend, but again, man, this is drifting, and you never know. So 2 more rounds left. We'll see where we are after this round, points-wise, but we're gonna show up in Texas and run it as hard as we have all year, and Irwindale will find out where it all shakes out.
Just got done with the top 16 run against Matt Kaufman. On his lead run, he put down a pretty solid lead run, hit all the clips and everything, filled all the zones. I followed him on the bank, entered probably a little too close to him, and had to check up throughout the bank. Caused a little bit of slight deduction there, and then tapped him at the very end, which also gave us a deduction. Our weekend here at FD Seattle is over, but we're ready to head up to Texas. That's one of my favorite tracks, and I'm ready for the last 2 rounds. We're going to go as hard as we can and have as much fun as we can.
So in the top 16, I drew Castro, which is unfortunate because we're Nexen Tire teammates. We went one more time in the first run, and my first run felt like the regular lead run that I usually do. So on the second time around, I vowed that I would definitely not let him get away on the start. And I did my regular lead run, and then when I followed him, I just went as close as I could on the bank. He still was pulling away a little on the bank, but I was able to reel him back in after the second or third turn. So I get to move on, which is awesome here in Seattle.
Well, we just ran Formula Drift veteran Daiyo Shihara, good friend of mine, great driver, and he had a couple bang-ups in top 32, but he got his car back out there, and he was running clean, running fast, and when we're out there running heads up, great drivers on track, you have to be perfect. One small mistake is what will put you on the trailer.
So with Forrest, I lined up. I got to lead first because I qualified high, and I got to just go out and run the run that I wanted to run. That's the great part about qualifying well. And when we had to switch it up, I had to follow Forrest. I had to really adapt because going into initiation, he went in a little slower than I anticipated. So that kind of threw the pace off a little bit. But luckily, the Falcon tires were hooking up so well that I was able to pounce right back on his door. Ended up being solid and got the win. So moving on top 8.
So looking at the bracket this morning, I knew this was going to be one of the toughest battles I've ever been a part of, and rightfully so. Matt was killing it out there. I could feel him touching me coming out from the bank. Luckily, we got to put on a good lead run. I chased him pretty close, and then one more time, I attacked him into turn 2. That's what it took to move on into top 8.
It's great going against my Boost Brigade teammate, Robbie. We're actually best friends off the track, so it's kind of weird to see each other so early on in tandem. But the first run out, I led, and I was told from my spotter that I had to get all the marks because the judges were really picky on that. So hit all the marks, but saw that Robbie was right behind me on the first run. Switched roles when I was chasing. I just knew I had to just get right on his door right off the bat. Did exactly that and got the win.
Tyler McCory, after seeing some crazy carnage in Montreal, does it once again, but eventually gets the victory after a one more time battle with Kenny Moen.
So that was one more time with Kenny Moen. Lead run was good on the follow. was right there on the bank, and I was right on his door coming through the power alley, and it kind of pinched me off a little bit, and just my approach to the second outer zone was a little off, so I got into the wall there, got back on his door, and coming through the last corner he spun, and I couldn't stop and just ran into him. So we have damage on the right rear from the tap of the wall and the left front from hitting him. So it was his mistake. He spun, so we got the win, but I'm not sure we're going to get it back out. There's quite a bit of damage to fix.
While we take a break here at Formula Drift Insider, the team keeps thrashing. Will he make it to advance on into competition in the Grade 8 when we return?
Formula Drift on CBS Sports Network is being brought to you by Universal Technical Institute, chosen by industry, ready to work. By FormulaD.com. For merchandise, tickets, and series information, head to FormulaD.com. By Nitto Tire, fueled by enthusiasts. And by Blackview, over the cloud.
Welcome back. With competition into the Grade 8, tempers begin to flare.
Yeah, you had that much angle and no throttle on.
Well, I didn't spin out. I got back into throttle. If we look,
well, you had no throttle when I hit you.
Well, wide strap cars are not fast, Dean.
It's not about not being fast. It's not having any throttle when you're at the inside pitting point.
Hey, dude, I'm telling you, I got on the ball.
Either way, good job.
Sick.
For Kaufman and Kearney, the gloves are off.
Dean feels that I didn't get on throttle fast enough, but once again, that's due to my setup right now. It's just like I've not been quick out of that like all weekend, so I guess he doesn't see it that way, but man, I never like it when drivers get at each other's necks.
Sometimes, action speaks louder than words.
I had to roll into throttle, but he was just not there in the throttle, and made slight bit of contact. The judges deemed me at fault. I don't necessarily agree with it, but these things happen, So went out on our lead run and laid down an absolute killer run, like a 100-point run, and yeah, that's it. Knocked out in top 8, unfortunately.
Two fierce competitors. After a one more time battle, Forsberg gets the win.
Yeah, we took out Tanner Fowles, two-time champion. He's a great driver, and it was a little crazy. We went one more time with him, but I think in the end, my lead runs won. He was a little off the bank, and which made it kind of hard for me to chase, so I was a little far back, but I think the judges weighed that on him not being on the wall and running that wide line, so I got the win.
Next up, two championship contenders.
So I battled Odie for top 8, and boy, those were some runs. Odie's on fire today. He put on a great lead ahead of me. I wasn't quite able to catch him, and I almost thought he was going to spin into turn 2. Now for my lead, I tried to put down a great qualifying run, but it wasn't enough. Odie moves on.
I knew I did a good job, but I didn't want to leave it up to chance, and I, drove as hard as I could behind him and stuck to his door, and it all worked out fantastic, and moving on.
Oh man, I'm so disappointed in myself. I feel like I had it in the first run out and totally messed up when I was on my lead lap, overshot the touch and go, forced us into one more time, and kind of messed up on my chase lap after the one more time. But we came up with the win. My spotter told me my only way was to just put on the solid lead lap, and I guess that did it for us.
Super close, but I'm excited. The fact that we got it back out there and got it running after how bad it was, I'm stoked for my team. It was awesome.
The Final Four has been decided. Chris Forsberg versus Matt Kaufman, who's trying to get his first ever FD podium.
The Final Four battle here in Seattle has been my farthest progression in the Formula Drift Championship. I mean, of course, it's not done in ways that I would have liked to. We've been hit a couple times today, but we have made some decent battles and had a great time. I mean, I was that close to a Carbon Cup, so I have more opportunities to get my dreams, and I'm going to get them, I swear.
My spotter was telling me that Odie was probably going to be our toughest matchup of the weekend. He was right. Right off the bat, he was extremely fast on the outer zone 1, but I did manage to get right up to his door at the exit of the zone and just put it right to his door at the touch and go and just pretty much stayed planted on his door throughout the rest of the course. But that just wasn't enough when I took the lead, and he was just on my door the whole way from start to finish. So
honestly, it's about just going out there and staying as smooth as possible. It's kind of nerve-wracking when you get up this high to pull off a solid, clean run, and at the same time you got to be fast. So just balancing the two, and I'm looking forward to going up against Chris next and implementing kind of the same strategy.
The final is set, Forsberg versus Odie.
You know, Chris looks to me like he's driving a similar style as I am at this round. So, you know, I'm just gonna have to lay it all out there, and I'm sure he's thinking the same. So it should be a really good show for everyone.
Odie leads, initiating strong as Chris Forsberg drops back and now needs to apply the pressure in the power alley. He just gets too close for comfort and ends up making contact, spinning out, and costing him the victory.
Odie's driving was pretty stellar all the way across the board. In the finals, you know, he made Chris Forsberg force 2 errors on himself, and that just does not happen. Forsberg does not make mistakes like that. So I think that's going to be a big takeaway for Forsberg. He wasn't able to get that first place podium that he's been looking for this year, but Odie has put himself in a really good position for the championship.
We obviously wanted to get the win, but Odie, he was on point from qualifying all the way to the finals. He was really fast. He put a little bit of gap on me on the initiation going into the bank, and I was just trying to play catch up and made some mistakes. So
yeah, I followed him as close as I could, and everything went really, really well. He ended up kind of going through the first and second clip in a weird fashion, and on the last turn, you know, I just tried to get on him as hard as I could, and he ended up, I thought he was going to spin. I didn't want to give him the distance, so I went with him into the spin, and I think that, you know, kind of solidified my win. But, you know, overall is just everything went really, really well. Really excited about Texas. We're going to try our very best, and we're going to put on a good show.
You know, what drivers are trying to do is they have 2 rounds left to accumulate points, and Texas is the last one before we get to Irwindale. So it's a really important round in terms of the championship, but because we've seen so many crazy things there, you never know what to expect.
In an exciting turn of events, Odie Bakshi's grabs his first victory of the year, and surprisingly, Chris Forsberg leads the points championship without a victory under his belt. Well, we move on to Texas Motor Speedway, playing host to round 7 of 8 of the Formula Drift Championship. And remember, there's one more round after that at Irwindale, California, the House of Drift. Join us on the next installment of Formula Drift Insider. In association with Formula Drift, this has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports.